Welcome back to the Nose Plays Endless Space 2. We're going to continue part 2 of our brand new Vaulter series using the Penumbra DLC. A couple things that I have become aware of since our last video. I did figure out where this 0.3 comes from, I think. The reason that this is actually listed as 1.3 and 5.3 currently is because the way that the cost for the Argosy colonization goes down, it shows a whole number, but it's not actually a whole number. And you'll know that because at the beginning of the Argosy's ability to colonize, it was at 14. In 12 turns, it's going to reach 0. That means that each turn it's actually reducing it by 1 and a part, 1 and a 12th essentially. And so while that number shows as a whole number, the actual cost is a 10th is what it calculates up here. So for some reason it calculates to a 10th here, but it calculates to whole numbers in other places. And that's why we actually are showing 5.3, because it took whatever it was, 6 and or 5.7 instead of 6. So it was showing that we needed to pay 6 for a colonization last turn, but it was actually 5.7 units of titanium and 5.7 units, which is why we had the 0.3 left over at the end of the turn. So I'm pretty sure that's where that came from and why it's a weird number. We'll probably see it again during our next colonization. It'll probably shift depending on how the turns fall and when we're able to colonize. That being said, I went ahead and ended the turn, and we are now at turn 13. I have not done anything else yet. I am still trying to work on figuring out the sound issues that I have that seem to happen about every 5 minutes. I get this random interference, and I don't know what it's from. It showed up early last year and has not gone away since. And I've changed headsets, I've changed settings, I've changed drivers. I've changed ports that I plug into. I can't figure it out, so I'm working on it, but it's not been very fruitful so far. I did make a slight adjustment today, so we'll see if anything changes, but I won't know that until I watch the video afterwards, because it doesn't actually seem to happen while I'm recording, just on the recording itself. That being said, we got a lot of things going on here. It looks like there is a minor faction down this lane, so maybe it would have been a good idea to scout with the Argosy. I guess I could have kind of deduced at one point that it was more likely that the Hishu sent that probe from this other constellation, and so it might have been a good idea to do that, but I never did, out of fear of getting the Argosy destroyed, because it's happened to me before, and it's not a good thing. What were some other things that I wanted to talk about from the last game? Oh, I put a comment in the last video about the ship design. And I think what I've come to the conclusion of, because I never, for whatever reason, I just never picked up on this recovery rate being better on these ships. So what I've kind of decided is that I think the ideal ship design at the beginning of the game for the Vaulters actually is this right here. I think this is probably better. Having the extra probes is nice, but the movement, it cannot be understated. Having 10 movement over 7 movement is just really, really good. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that design. But then the other thing that I think would be more beneficial in the long run, and I don't know this for sure, I'm going to have to play around with it, but maybe one of you guys could try it out and tell me what you think about it. I think her ship, the best setup for her ship is not to actually have a probe on her ship, but if you throw an obsolete engine, I think she actually starts with this engine, and you just throw 2 more of these engines, pull everything else off. She actually has no value other than she's just along for the ride to gain XP for those first 9 turns anyways. But I think this is probably the best setup for her during that first few turns. So all she does is basically keeps pace with the scout probe. 4 probes that regenerate every 2 turns is enough to scout as many curiosities as you need to get her to level 3. And then you send her back. Your ship still has good movement. You get another probe ship out early in the game, so you have one that can search curiosities with her attached to it, and one that can send out probes to find more curiosities to search. And I think that might be a slightly more optimal scenario than what we ended up trying. But and the reason for that is pulling the probe off of her ship, she regenerates probes much more slowly than the scout ship does. And so I don't know that you're getting a lot of value out of those extra probes. It may still be worth putting them on her, but if you do, that limits your movement to 8. And so you're not getting full advantage of the extra movement speed. In which case, maybe it does make sense to go with the 6 probes on the scout ship. But that just seems like overkill to me. It kind of felt that way to me. Although I will say there were a few times where sending out 6 probes uncovered a lot of territory. But I think you could do the same thing with 4 and just regenerate them and send them out more frequently. So we'll see. I'll give it a try maybe in some of my next few playthroughs with the Vultures off camera, and I'll let you guys know what I think in the end, either in the comment section or a new video some point down the road. Let's go ahead and get our ships moving, and that was another thing that we discovered. There was a situation in the last video where I clicked that button, and I thought I had clicked in turn right before I clicked it, but I did not. And so I had manually already moved that ship and just forgotten about it. And I saw my other ship move, and this one kind of stayed here wherever it was. And I was really confused for a moment there at what was going on, because I thought both my ships should move. But mystery solved. So we're sending this scout ship over to uncover these curiosities. We're sending this scout ship over here to uncover these curiosities, and then we'll kind of figure out what to do from there. This probe will reveal these guys momentarily. We already started a hack to the pirates, which we're going to talk about more in detail over the next 10 to 15 turns that we play tonight. And plasma metallurgy will be done next turn, which will give us a building that will be fairly efficient in this system, although next to useless in this system for quite some time. It will still be beneficial to eventually maybe get it down once this population gets completely filled out. But until then, it's not really worth very much. And probably not worth the dust cost. Let's take a look at our law. So we're still running Dirty Hands Act, and right now, unfortunately, we're only benefiting from that on this system. I'm fairly certain that colonizations do not count as a system improvement, and therefore do not benefit from the Dirty Hands Act. But we're not going to disable it just for that. Yeah, there's not a whole lot else going on, at least not right this moment. So we're just going to go ahead and hit the in turn button. Alright, so this was the minor civilization that our probe uncovered. The Diuvians, pragmatists. They provide more science, which is good for us. Minus 10% on science cost if you get enough of these guys in your empire. Okay. We'll make contact with them, and maybe we'll start hacking them. I don't know for sure. They do have a couple of ships, but they're not aggressive like some of the warmongering factions, so we should be able to fly around their system without too much trouble. We got another Sister of Mercy, which is actually maybe really good for us. We're getting close. Yeah, that probably pushed us up to ecstatic. We were really close to being ecstatic otherwise. We're getting +4 from our Sister of Mercy populations. So 4 points. If we subtracted 4 from this, we would fall below the threshold, which I believe is 85%. I don't think this last Sister of Mercy was the one that pushed us over, but they are helping out. If we didn't have Sisters of Mercy, we would not be in the position we are in at the moment. So this did get completed, and now we're going to go ahead and build off-world agribusiness. This will allow us to do diplomacy with the minor factions we've uncovered to this point. It also has an approval building, which has some value. And I'm going to have to step away from the computer for just a second to take care of something. So I will be right back. All right, sorry about that interruption. Yeah, off-world agribusiness is good. I will go ahead and leave that in the queue for the moment, unless I think of a reason not to. And I can't think of a great reason not to at the moment. We did get one of the 4 science buildings down, and now that we have 2 systems, getting a second science building down won't be very difficult. That could be one reason to go ahead and get, but we already have part of this completed, so we'll just finish it in one turn. That means that we're going to have to pick up something else. And we can skip ahead to the next tier of technologies, but there may be something in this tier that we need to uncover. Uncovering it will give us some better engines and also uncommon curiosities, which are good. We'll know where some more curiosities are. There is a science building here. It is primarily good on planets that have anomalies, but we could pick this up just in order to get our quest completed. I don't know if exoscience stations count as a science building. They technically act like a science building. These specializations can be destroyed from invasions. Or we could skip up to research cities or gravitation shielded laboratories. This is particularly good, but it does cost a fair amount of Hyperium, and we do not have that. This one does not cost Hyperium and just gives you a flat 25% if you're happy and 10% if you're not. It's 35% total if you're happy, which is actually really good. Colonization of ice. I don't know that we want to jump that far ahead. This is one of the things that I brought up in the last video. The ability to jump ahead is interesting because there are some situations where I think that it is a valid thing to do. But one of the things you're going to notice, for example, this takes 3 turns. This takes 9. So this takes 3 times as long to get completed as this does. Also, these buildings are more expensive, and that increase in time is what really sets you back. Because in 3 turns I could get this down, and then in several more turns I could go ahead and get some of these other effects in play. For example, maybe take advantage of colonizing a snow planet. It's just a way to snowball your progress a little bit better by staying in the concentric rings. So I didn't spend a lot of time talking about this last video, but I am going to mention it again. My personal view of how to apply your science. You're going to need stuff from all three or all four tiers throughout the game. And it makes sense to generally start at the lowest tier and kind of go around, grab everything you need, then start branching out into the next tier, grab everything you need, then start branching out into the next tier, grab everything you need. It's not like there isn't a particular pattern that you need to do. You don't need to go around the circle necessarily, but you want to stay in the lower quadrants of what you've unlocked for the most part, unless there's something really specific that you're trying to do. For example, if you're trying to get basic system development down, which is something actually we really need to think about focusing on, because we have a fair stockpile of Jadonics at this point. In fact, we may even have enough Jadonics at this point. We are maybe one Jadonics away from being able to use this in both of the systems that we have. And that's going to be 60 industry in each one of these. So I think that actually makes a lot of sense to go ahead and get. And in order to do that, we need to unlock one more Tier 2 technology. One Tier 2 technology that we know we could use is this one, because we have 2 ash planets in our home system. And then luxury deposits, we have a ton of those, and this is a bunch of approval as well. That building's not as useful to us at the moment. This building is limited in its usefulness. It is useful, absolutely, but the cost of it is what makes it a little bit prohibitive. And so if we have any other options at all to increase our titanium and hyperium, I would rather take advantage of those before I built this building. But if I was in a pinch, this is something I would definitely focus on with the vaulters. So I think we're going to go ahead and queue that up. And that's going to allow us a number of things. So what it's going to allow us to do, first of all, is colonize these ash planets in our home system. And as we colonize these, remember, each of these is going to give us 10 industry for being a planet and 10 science for being a planet. So we're going to get 10 industry, 10 science. There's another building that we may consider grabbing soon that would also give us 10 food for each of these. And it just makes planetary colonization very, very productive, I guess is the right word. All right, now that we've figured that out, what else do we need to do? I don't think we have anything hack-wise to do. Our hack has reached the system. You can see by looking at it how much of the hack we've completed and how much we'll complete in the next turn. It's showing 2 turns until it completes. So we'll go ahead and end the turn, and you can see it filled in that next portion, and then it's going to show that we'll finish this hack. Well, it's still showing it as 2 turns, which is interesting. Alright, and this is the message that I was telling you guys about earlier. Pirates and minor civilizations now have access to hacking operations. They can defend their systems from your hacking operations and may attempt to infiltrate yours. Pirates are notorious for doing this quite frequently. That may have something to do with why it ended up increasing this by 1 turn. I don't know. But you can see we've reduced the rate at which we're able to hack this system. That could be related to encryption being placed on it. Now that they have hacking defenses, maybe they placed encryption, which is slowing our hack down. That would be my guess, is that pirates basically get encryption. But because when our hack arrived, they didn't have any defenses to detect it, I don't think we'll get traced at this point. So we should be able to complete this for free. This did happen on turn 15. I don't think it always happens on exactly turn 15. I think there's kind of a window of opportunity where this becomes active. But I don't know that for certain. I do know that it's generally around turn 15. Alright, we've explored 20% of the galaxy. I'll give you one guess as to which empire collected 100 dust on a single star system. If you've played this game for very long, you almost certainly know who that was. And we've unlocked the ability to build the Endless Research Park. We are going to be working on the one that we just picked. And our ships have finally made it to systems where we can get some. What do we got? Eden Incense. More Eden Incense. Jadonics. Hyperium. Alright, that's good. Oh, please be titanium. Please be titanium. No! I just can't win. Alright, well this is actually a really good system. Hyperium is a good one. What we could do in order to keep us kind of solvent in our strategics is grab this system and this system as our next two colonizations. That wouldn't be the worst plan ever. I do like Eden Incense. I don't believe any of our populations use Eden Incense. They do not. But it's definitely a good maybe Era 2 or Tier 2 system development. Influence becomes very, very important in the mid to late game if you want to run more laws and do more diplomacy, which we kind of do. We'll just clear all of those. What else? Reveal the hidden isolated nodes. Did we uncover any new ones? It does not look like we uncovered any new ones. Well, that's unfortunate. We do have some probes over here to use. We found another pulso. And STEM cities. What is this? STEM cities is +5 approval per luxury deposit on system. Interesting. I don't think I've ever seen this reward before. Okay. Well, we'll have a lot of approval buildings in the next few turns. Yeah, we can just clear all those. Because these have all been gathered, I guess it's time to go ahead and move along. Where do we want to move to? That is a good question. So one possibility is to take this ship and move it this direction and try to head down this lane and finish out. Looks like they've already put a colony on Pisces. But back to my original thought, finish uncovering the rest of this constellation while sending this ship this way to maybe jump over to this constellation. And I think that's probably the plan. This is going to take 9 turns. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop in Lokim and see about retrofitting. And we'll do the same thing here. Stop in Narad and see about retrofitting if we can. We do have the ability to praise minor factions now, and we're going to be heading over here and scouting this in just a moment. I don't want to spend too much, but I think I am going to go ahead and put 1 point into that now. What about these guys? These guys are already gaining a little bit, so we're going to wait until this cost goes down before we put any more points into them. Um, our hack will be completed in 2 turns again, so I think we're in a pretty good spot. Cerebral Reality is going to be completed very soon. We have 2 luxury deposits, so this is going to be an additional 10 approval. That's not very useful at the moment. I can actually move this over here. And Pulsos actually get bonus science over there, so he's actually better off being over here. Yeah, there's just not a lot of good options for us. This is also 10. It's a lot cheaper than this building as far as industry cost is concerned. The other option is we build another scout ship, which probably wouldn't go to waste at this point. Or we could start on the Endless Research Park, which actually isn't a bad idea. With all these approval buildings, this system is likely to be very high in approval. However, I believe the bonuses to these are strictly for empire-wide. So if we go to the empire-wide, we're currently devoted, but yeah, it's right here. We're currently at devoted empire-wide. That can change quickly. How many turns is this going to take? 19 turns. Jeez. And we wouldn't have any way of buying it out quickly. Okay, well, we need something that's going to take 3 turns. So this is probably good enough. Let's go ahead and get another ship out. We definitely have pirates to deal with. One other option is to mass all of these fleets together and take out the pirates that are on our current systems. Or maybe at least Arcturus, because this is actually a 5-planet system that's really reasonable. We could leave pirates here that we could continually hack for diplomacy.
Speak.
Oh, this is something else that I wanted to look at. This system is not very well fleshed out, but the whole pirate diplomacy thing. We're currently in the poor sector. And from what I can tell, there are 4 divisions, or maybe 3, I'm not certain. But there's this division from here to here. There's from here to the center, from the center to here. I think this actually is considered one piece of this. And then there's this final one. This is terrible, this is poor, and this is kind of wary. What I'm interested in finding out is, if you move this meter in one direction or the other, how does it influence these costs? You can force peace with them through a non-aggression pact, and they won't attack you. You can't be targeted by pirate marks, and you can use their portals. But this is for a limited time. It is not indefinite. And when you select this, I believe this status changes to forced truce or something like that. And if you mouse over it, it indicates that it is for a limited time. So we'll try and look at that, or remember to look at that later on. Just out of curiosity, he's building bullet weapons and bullet defenses and bullet weapons on that ship. So... Alright, let's get moving. Argosy is ready for colonization. All right, so what do we want to do? We have a tough decision to make here. We do have two very decent systems. Let's see which one's going to make the most sense. Mediterranean, boreal, and snow. We can certainly colonize the Mediterranean. It is 6644 for its outputs with Eden Incense, which is actually really good, and Hyperion, or 6237 with some approval and some extra industry, but not enough to make it better than this system. And this is also a large planet, so it has a lot of and a hollow planet, so that makes it even more. It has a lot of population, is what I was about to say. So this is definitely the one that we would settle. Plus, it has the Hyperium deposit, which pretty much makes that a given. But this system as a whole isn't bad. With a medium snow and a large ice, you definitely have some opportunity to do some good stuff here. It's also close. What do we have over here again? Tiny forest and small tundra. So there's not as much population on this system, at least on the two early settles. But we do have 8, 7, 4, 3, and 6, 3, 3, 6. I think our Jadonics is high enough that we don't really need to grab that other Jadonics. This actually gives us a little bit of extra Hyperium, which we are going to need to equip some of our ships with in the early game, because a lot of the early probes and early engines are built from Hyperium. So I think I am going to go ahead and colonize this one. It's also the system I think that's going to grow the most quickly, and also has the greatest potential for early expansion. So we can grab both of these planets and not completely cap out the population too quickly. So that being said, do we want to use the Argosy to scout at all? Because we're definitely not going to be able to afford this. And I told you the cost of this second one, it's still 12 turns until a free colonization, but notice the cost is more than double what we were at before. I believe it was 12, or no, it was 14. So 14 and 14 is what it started at, and then it slowly dropped down to 0. Now we're all the way up to 27 and over 2,000 dust. These costs are going to drop significantly each turn, but it's still going to be roughly double the amount that it was the last time we colonized at turn, 4 turns until it was finished, I think we had left. So what would have cost us about 6 on the first colonization with 4 turns until it's free is probably going to cost us more like 12 to 18. So expensive. It gets expensive. This is what I was trying to warn you guys about. I think we're just going to head over here and sit on this system. We'll get all the other ships moving wherever they need to go. Be the first to control at least 4 star systems in the same constellation. So not only are these guys super aggressive, but they're also expanding at an incredibly good rate, which makes me a little nervous. We've got a tiny tundra. They're going to have a 5th system over here with our titanium and Hyperium deposit that I wanted to take. Hoth is still a reasonable snag for us. And I guess one thing to consider is if we don't take Hoth right now, we're probably not going to get it without a war. But I think war is probably inevitable with these guys. And I think for my sake, it makes the most sense to grab one of these two. Now, one of the things that I just thought of that I hadn't thought of until a moment ago is I don't know I don't know if these count towards our constellation. We need 2 of 3. In order to get the 15% science, we're going to have to settle Pegasus next. Because Orum's not going to count towards. So that is something to consider for sure. Alright. Unfortunately, we're already on our way to Aurum. It's going to take 6 turns before we get to Pegasus, but I don't believe we're going to be able to colonize before turn 6 on this countdown timer anyways. Our dust is really crap right now, and we're going to have to get pretty low on the dust cost before we're able to get that. Plus, we were thinking about retrofitting our ships. It looks like the ecologists might actually get into the government next turn. I don't think that's going to affect us all that much. 2 turns until this gets done. This will be done in 1 turn, which will give us some options. Yeah, I didn't think about this not counting towards our constellation bonus, but I think 15% extra science on all 3 of our systems is worth more than a slightly better start. We'll just colonize this one with our 4th colony ship. Alright, that should have been the sound of our hack being completed. And I want to look here to see where our approval is, because we're probably going to try to shift the approval with these guys using our hack. This is that quest that I told you would trigger. Search for the atmospheric curiosities. Alright, so we have a couple of options. We could falsify the logs, which just straight up gives us a flat boost in our approval. Or we could eavesdrop, which reduces the diplomacy cost with the pirates. I'm fairly certain that this includes dust, and you can see that by this dust symbol here. But what I don't know is if this... So let's take a look at the pirates again.
What?
I don't know if that decreases the non-aggression pact. I'm fairly certain that it decreases the cost of support and buying pirate marks, but I don't know about this one. I can't remember. So we have 2 options. We can falsify the logs, or we can do this. I don't think we have the influence or the dust, and we need that dust for other things. So falsifying the logs makes the most sense to me. I have also tried this in the past, and it doesn't really seem valuable enough to bother with it. But moving them up in approval with us might be good. And so I really want to pay attention to a couple of things right now. We want to look at where we're at. We're going to cross this line. I don't know if this status is going to change when we cross this line. But when we do cross these thresholds, I want to pay attention to the cost and see if these costs go down. Because my suspicion is, as you move out of one tier and into another, the costs of these things change. I know that this gets more and more expensive as you fall further and further down. I think it gets cheaper as you move further and further up, but I've never actually verified that. So that's what we're going to try to do today. So take a little note of where these costs are: 200, 120, just under 400 and 400. Let's go ahead and falsify the logs. All right, nice little animation there.
Yeah.
And the cost did not change. However, we crossed the center line, but we did not cross one of these 2 breakpoints. And it looks like it's going to take us 3 or 4 more hacks at the current rate to cross that line. So what we're going to do is we're going to hack them again. 7 turns now. So they've almost certainly, this was 4 turns before. This 7 turns is indicating to me that these guys have almost certainly added encryption to their system, which is making it take longer. That being the case, perhaps we should hack from a different angle. That's going to take 7. That's going to take 12. This is going to take 7 as well, but it's a longer route, so it's going to be harder for them to trace us. So we're going to go ahead and do it from this angle. And we'll see what happens. All right, technology-wise, what are we going to need? This is always really good, but this is another situation where we're jumping tiers maybe a little early. However, this building's really good. And we have the ability to colonize all of the planets in our system. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and get our industry online. So we're about to make a huge move on all of our systems in terms of industry. Let's start with the home system and talk about why that is. So we already have xeno-industrial infrastructure down and 2 planets. One is temperate fertile, one is fertile. That's a lot of industry in the early game. We also uncovered the ability to unlock both of these, but we've also unlocked our first system development. And oh my, it's only 20. Yeah, we're set. So this Jadonix is going to give us 60 industry right up front. The building that we are researching gives us 20 per planet. And so that's going to be another 20, 40, 60, 80 once we get these colonized. And then adding these each is going to give us another 20. Yep, that's what we're going to do. It's going to take 9 turns to get this, so we'll get both of these done before that. Which means we can throw something else in here if we want to. Unfortunately, none of these are particularly exciting. The approval is not something that I'm really super excited about, but let's take a look and see if anything is going to fall off here. We are getting 10 from a golden age, and that golden age is going to last for a limited number of turns. It will eventually fall off, and once it falls off, we are going to need to replace it to stay ecstatic. Now, I don't know how many turns that golden age. Okay, so we have 10 turns before the golden age falls off. This golden age is what's adding that plus 10 to our other system. It's also adding plus 25 to this system, 15 on system, and then 10 for all systems. That's where the 25 comes from. We are literally 1 point of happiness away from being ecstatic, or whatever the next tier up is. So let's get this done, and that will push the approval up in this system. Do we have anything else running approval-wise that's going to fall off? Planet, Core Worlds, Golden Age. Yeah, just the 25 from the Golden Age will fall off eventually in 10 turns. So this system is not going to be very happy if we don't build some more approval buildings here. So that's definitely going to need to get done. We're going to need Some more approval over here. This will get completed in 9 turns, which is going to happen right before our approval falls off. This is another 10 approval, but notice the cost is higher, so we don't want to necessarily build this right now. And it's not going to benefit us. This building would benefit us right away, and we may actually go ahead and throw it in the queue, because when this gets completed, and this gets completed, and this gets completed, all of these things are going to increase our industry significantly for the Xeno industrial infrastructure. So this will be another 10 industry and science, 10 industry and science. Yeah, let's just go with this for now. I really like this building. Predictive logistics is really good. It does cost titanium, but we've already decided we're going to colonize this system next. And so we'll have a little bit of extra titanium output to deal with that. One of the things that we do need to consider, though, is we got to stop privateering for a second in order to retrofit our ships. I was basically going to give us extra movement, but still keep a couple of probes. I think that is the right play. Before I do that, though, it's probably beneficial for us to just throw out the 5 probes that we have. So where do we want to send these 5 probes? Well, we'll send one down that lane. We'll send one down that lane. One down that lane. And then maybe one out there and one out there. Alright. Now that we've retrofitted, we could go back into privateer mode and head on down the lane with the little bit of move that we have left. Having 10 movement means you can launch a bunch of probes and still retain some of your movement, which is nice. Anything else we want to do this turn? We've already set up our hack, and we only have 1 hack at the moment, so yeah, let's go ahead and get going. You can see we're now gaining significantly more resources than we were before in terms of titanium and hyperium. All the way to the point where we could almost colonize now. The real holdup at the moment is dust, but I do have ways to make some dust through the marketplace, which we'll look at shortly. Need to come back over here. This isn't quite complete yet, but this is. So we have a ship here that we can go ahead and, whoops, oh, that was kind of a mistake. I should have made him a privateer before I sent him over there. Well, we'll fix it. We got curiosities here. Improved torpedoes. Okay. One interesting thing is that despite the fact that we're privateers, we do still get the rewards for searching curiosities as a privateer towards our diplomacy with these guys. Alright, so we have a couple of options. We could just take the 75 dust and increase military political ideology, but have a chance of a political crisis, or we could take a reduction in our science, but increase scientists' political ideology with an 80% chance of discovering something, I'm going to go ahead and just take the dust. We need dust right now anyways, because we're trying to save up for our early colonization of the Argosy. Let's take a quick peek at this system. Anything else that we need to get done? We definitely need to consider learning Arctic or Barren or both. So as soon as Neurorobotics gets done in the next 7 turns, Barren is a tier 2, and Arctic, I believe, is also a tier 2. Nope, tier 3. Yeah. Unfortunately, Arctic is the better of the two. But this is only going to cost us 319 science. While this one is going to cost us 5 times that amount, roughly. So this is probably the one that we're going to research. The issue with this is that these planets have really, really big approval penalties, and we don't have any good ways of offsetting them. This system has no luxuries, and our primary building for offsetting approval penalties after infinite supermarkets is based on luxuries. So, maybe we do grab this Arctic system first, or maybe we grab something on the way to Arctic. This will give us a little bit of an approval bump, and it does reduce the cost of this. It also gives us one of the 2 we need for this. So maybe we go snow. In fact, I think we have a snow in one of our other planets, right? This one didn't, but up here, we had a snow. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and plan on grabbing the snow and then the Arctic, which is going to put it at 15 turns out, which is a long time. But it might get reduced some as we move up our science a little bit here and there. We got a couple of things going on here. We've discovered a new nebula. We'll stop here and launch some probes. We got our dust and our hero leveled up. So this is the first opportunity we have to really get something other than our strategic income. We really have 2 choices at this point. These 3 choices are all related to fleets, which we're not going to bother with at this point in time. But these 2 choices, industry and food, or food on fertile and on system. I think this is the choice we're going to go with since we have a couple of fertile planets. This is going to give us a significant amount of food on our main system for now. And many times I would take this hero. Let's talk about this a little bit more in detail. So the way that I view this character, there are 2 ways that you can develop your hero. You can develop them in such a way that they are really, really good at helping a new system get off the ground. And the way that you do that is you invest in lots of points like this that are just flat amounts of resources, of fidsies. Uh, the other thing you can do is you can invest in them in such a way that they provide small benefits in the early game, but they provide really big benefits to systems that are well developed. And that's where skills like this, per population uh, bonuses, become bigger than flat bonuses at a certain break point where populations grow really large on a system. Or you grab things like this, which have a percent based boost to your economy on a particular system. And so as your system grows and as you get other buildings down, this percent bonus at the beginning of the game is almost non-existent, but by mid to late game it can be way larger than flat, even 30 or 60 science that other heroes offer. And so there are two ways that you can play her. You can basically put her on your most developed system and focus on these types of skills, or you can put her on the least developed systems and focus on these types of skills, like this one here and this one here. These flat bonuses really help early systems get off the ground. And so it just depends on how you want to use your hero. But there are really those two dichotomous versions of her. She's either going to really help a new system or she's going to really help established system. And this is true of every hero, generally speaking. There's going to be skills that do one or the other, and identifying them and focusing on one or the other style is probably going to serve you better than if you mix and match them. By focusing on this and possibly this later on, what we're going to do is we're going to focus her in such a way that we'll probably bounce her around from system to system to help it get off the ground when a brand new system gets created, when a brand new colony gets created. But the reason that I didn't move her over to this system is because, first of all, there's nowhere for the population to grow, and second of all, this is not a fertile system, so she's not really going to be adding much food, if anything, over here in the short term. So this system was all about basically getting these, and the rest of this can develop at its leisure, as far as I'm concerned. As long as we don't lose it to pirates or other players, we'll be in good shape. This is a little worrisome. I really don't like them flying over here around where the Argosy's at. This ship, we're going to privateer up so that it doesn't get attacked. Actually, no, we're going to unprivateer it. We're going to retrofit it, and then we're going to privateer it up. And I guess we'll go down here and search this curiosity. And then we'll think about jumping across to here. This ship has some curiosities to search. Alright. And because I made a boo-boo, we are going to run back over here real quick and privateer once we get to our system. Alright. Let's go back in here and look. So this is going to get done in 9 turns. Neurorobotics will be done in 6. Is there something else we could do in 2? That's going to take a little bit too long. Well, actually, it may not, because completing this is going to add a little more industry, as will completing this. We could also shift population around a little bit to ensure that we're getting a little bit more industry. I do want to keep him over here because he gets +5 science on an anomaly, which is Not a lot, but it's worth keeping him over here for, I think. Alright, turn 20. Checking the Argos's rates. We are well within our rates for strategics, but we do not have the dust. Now remember, we can sell our luxuries and our excess strategics to get more dust in a pinch, which we will probably do. This is such a good engine. I don't know how you could not take this one over this. Probe cooldown is so... I just don't see the use of this module. There are already probes that only minus 100% probe cooldown. I mean, does this basically mean you get unlimited probes? I can't imagine that that's the case. I would imagine that you basically have a one-turn cooldown on all probes, but there are already probes that have a one-turn cooldown, so this doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. We're going to go with this one. Those engines are really, really good for us. And they don't cost strategics, so yeah. Just wait till you see an Argosy outfitted with those bad boys. Okay, we're going to launch a couple probes. We want to launch one. Well, we kind of already know where this is going, so maybe we launch these in a different direction. Launch one that way. Maybe that way. And then get on our way. Anything we need to look at? Okay, approval has officially dropped below a threshold that I'm comfortable with. What can I do to fix it immediately? Ah, this is what it was. When we colonize this, it pulls a population from one of your other systems and puts it on here. This system has a -5 approval per population pip, which is not okay with me. At least not right now. I want to continue to remain ecstatic as long as possible. So that's what we're going to do. And then this system, there's not much we can do about it until this gets completed. That will fix the happiness in this system. Also, this building is actually really, really good here. It would be better if we had more population slots. And in fact, I'm considering moving... we do have an anomaly, so we can just move that pulso to this planet. Pulsos are better on planets with anomalies. We are working on getting this eventually. Let's take a look at our science and see if we've shaved any turns off of that. We're up to 12, so it's actually adding turns. That has slightly to do with the fact that we move population around a little bit, but also because as you complete technologies, every future technology increases in cost by some margin. Alright. Do we care who is the secondary party? I don't really care. I want scientists to stay. I'm going to give them my official support. We could grow these guys to the next level and unlock some new science laws potentially. The industrialists took over. The secondary party, Star Boogie Bill, is actually fairly useful at times, but it costs a lot of industry to use. Alright, we're 1 turn away from being able to do this. The cost is probably going to be around 1,000 dust, which we may or may not be able to acquire. I got 4 probes, and I can launch them out, so we're going to go ahead and launch a bunch of probes out this way, I think. 1 that way, 1 that way. Alright. And we'll head out after that. This ship made it here, so we can uncover this curiosity. And we found a pincher fleet. Okay. What do we want to do with a pincher fleet? I can think of a few things we could do with it, but nothing super useful. If we look at our global manpower pool, our maximum empire-wide manpower is 650, and we're almost at that cap. So the other option I was going to think of doing is disbanding him. 27 dust and 100 manpower would be worthwhile in some circumstances, but not so much this one. What do I want to do with this ship? I know what we're going to do with this ship. We're going to try and send this ship over here, and we're going to blockade this system. But before we do that, we'll probably convert him into a pirate, and we'll just blockade this system and prevent them from colonizing it. I think that's a good plan, and that's a good use of this ship in the short term. That way we can kind of reserve Hoth to potentially colonize later on in the game.
Do you enjoy proposals made with a blade at your throat?
So they're threatening us. We're going to refuse to give them anything.
Feel free to anger us.
They're going to probably threaten us and attack us when they get a chance. We'll just have to deal with that. Alright, there's a bunch of curiosities over here. So that's where we're heading next. And we've got 3 probes. But not a lot of empty space to send them into. There's a little bit of empty space over here. You can kind of see the fog of war, or whatever you want to call it. But not a whole lot of else. I guess there's a little bit this direction. And a very little bit that direction. And then where is this ship going to go? How many turns would it take to get there? It's going to take us 4 turns to get here. And it's taking this guy 32 turns. So we could actually... Oh, I wish I had looked at that a few seconds ago. We could have sent this ship over there too. So one thing that I've just recently discovered, you can actually starve out outposts through blockading and sieging them. The amount that you deter them is based on your siege ability. So typically every command point that you have in a fleet times 2 is the amount that you'll siege down a system's manpower. In the case of a outpost, you siege down their food by an amount that's dictated by your same siege value. I don't know the exact math on that, but I think it's similar. So for example, that one command point ship sitting here would reduce the food by 2 every turn. And if I had 2 command points worth of ships blockading, it would be 4, and so on and so forth. There is a module that increases sieging by like 7 titanium slugs or something like that. And so you can equip a ship with a bunch of titanium slug modules and go and siege outposts, and it will starve them out. It'll lower their food so much that they won't even be able to colonize. And in fact, if you can get it to go negative, it will eventually starve it out and remove the outpost. So that's what we're going to try to do. I don't think that this ship by itself is going to be capable of doing that, but maybe both of these ships would be capable of doing that. And that way we could actually still take Pisces as a colonization, because titanium and Hyperium is very good for us. It's something aggressive we can do with our ships, and we can do it under the guise of the pirate banner, so it won't affect us as negatively diplomatically as it possibly could. Furthermore, we do have another one scout ship over here, so even if these guys do get in a fight and get destroyed, it won't be the end of the world, and they're relatively cheap to rebuild. And they're getting cheaper and cheaper to rebuild by the minute because we just keep improving our industry. In fact, just to take a look here, our industry's at just under 200 now, 60 for the system development, 60 for Xeno industrial infrastructure, 33 on planet, 25 from the colony base, drone networks, and the hero skill is now giving us 10 because we have hostile fauna, which is an anomaly. So we got a lot going on. In one turn, we're going to get another 10 from this system being colonized. So yeah, we're doing all right. Hostile trace detected, so we reached the pirates and they're tracing us now. We are only 2 turns, and you can see, I think that they are not encrypting this system at the moment because it's taking a lot less time to get this completed than the last one that we tried to hack. Interesting. What is this? Your defensive program has spotted an enemy hacking operation. Yeah, so the pirates are trying to hack our system while we're trying to hack theirs. So we'll see what happens here.
Feel free to anger us.
All right, they're hostile. We kind of knew that. We did actually trace their hack, so we can shut it down so they don't actually do anything to us, which we will do. All right, and now that that's completed, we're at 220. We got another population too. I can put it on this system. Are these guys, they don't really care where they're at. So if we put them over there, yeah, it's 1 point. Huh. Yeah, there's just no good way to stay above other than this. Once this gets completed, we'll have a little more leeway and we can actually put some more people over here on these very high industry but very low approval planets. Alright, let's get our ships moving. And our pirate ship made it down the lane, so we've got 4 of these to uncover. Let's go ahead and take a look at the savannah. Interesting. Can only be installed on colony ships, lowers the chance to be targeted. Huh. Okay. Deciduous trees. That's actually useful for us. We do have some deciduous trees as a potential luxury booster for one of our populations. In fact, now that I mention it, deciduous trees are really cheap. And this is one of those circumstances that I was talking about earlier. So how many of these do we have? Pulsos 2 and Sisters of Mercy 2. So we would need... Oh, we already have them. How do we already have deciduous trees? Did we just find a load of 5? Oh, we did when we searched that. Okay, let's go ahead and hit both of those boosters. And just so you see, we're now getting 10 and 2. And double damage on ground battles, but also 4 approval per population pip. Now the reason why I wanted to do that is we should be able to do this now. Okay, we can only do 1, but we can still put 1 over here, which then pushes us up to 221 from 214. So a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit. Every little bit counts, right? And we'll just sleep until we find some more. And the Argosy. We need 1,146 to colonize right now. Do we have 1,146 potentially?
To die stabbing each other.
We're gonna
Know that I like this word.
We're gonna ask him to remove his nearby outpost, and he's gonna refuse.
Feel free to anger us. Feel free also to suffer Tornazi's wrath.
So we could condemn and potentially go to war, or we can press and increase our pressure, which I think I want to do. That'll push this back a little bit. He's kind of pushing in on us at the moment. Let's go to the marketplace and let's take a look at, can we sell these for any amount that would be enough so we got it up to 400. These sell for 16 and these sell for 18. So if we sold, say, 10 of each of these, that would be a couple hundred, maybe 300 and some more. So that would put us at 800, give or take. I think it's reasonable to assume that we could probably get to about 800 or 900 dust. I don't think we're going to get to 1100 without spending more than I really want to. Then again, we only need 20 Jade Onyx for this. And we'll easily have 20 more accumulated before our next colony goes down. So maybe we sell a good portion of this. Like, they sell at 5 a piece right now. If we sold 50... 49 gives us 77 dust. That gives us exactly 20 for our booster. I'm going to go ahead and do that. That puts us at 500. And then if I sold 15 of these and 15 of these. Okay, not quite enough. But really, really close. So I'm thinking we'll probably be able to do it next turn, which will be 5 turns early, which is actually 1 turn earlier than we did last time. And like I said, right around turn 20 is when we were going to plan on getting this done. So we'll sleep for 1 turn. Is there anything else we need to do? Our hack is 2 turns away from being completed. There's nothing else we can do on the hacking. So yeah, let's go. New pulso. We'll want to make sure that he is on the appropriate planet. Oh, it was the other system that got the pulso. Well, that's unfortunate. He doesn't do much good here. We'll just queue these up. They do need to get built. They're much more valuable once these systems get colonized, but that's, again, going to take some time. All right, we can afford it. It dropped to 965, and the dust that we made allows us to get on to this tiny forest. I believe is the one we want. 8743 versus 63. Yeah. This is a forest temperate fertile world. And so this will be the first situation where we get to take advantage of our hero, potentially. Now the question is, do we want to move our hero over here? If we move her over here, she's going to provide 10 food for the system and 10 food for fertile. So an extra 20 food, which is not nothing. That puts this up to 80. And actually more than that, or less than that, I don't know. The way that this is calculated is kind of wonky. This number is actually after everything. So it's after our deductions for manpower, consumption, and Black Thumb. I don't think I want to move her over here. I think I want to leave her where she's at. She's actually doing more good in our system. If our system were full on population and weren't benefiting from the food that she's giving, the other reason I don't want to pull her is she's also adding 10 industry over there, where over here she would not be adding any industry. So let's go ahead and get the most important thing. 60 industry from our Jadonics, followed by 30 industry from Xeno Industrial Infrastructure, followed by 10 industry from Drone Networks, followed by some bonus industry per population pip on our primary planet, and also our secondary planet, which just happens to actually give us more industry than this will initially. So let's move that up in the queue. Once all this industry gets done, everything else gets done much more quickly. Remember, we are researching a snow planet already, so this will be able to happen soon. It is in the queue right after neural robotics, and then that will be followed by the Arctic one on the other system that we need. And because we colonized the system in our constellation, we're now getting an extra 15% science, so that is going to help the research of all of these things. So remember, when this said 12 several turns ago, it's down to 6 already, and that might improve a little bit more over time. as we get more planets, which add more science in some cases. All right, we got more probes over here. Go ahead and scout that. More deciduous trees to keep our boosters rolling later on. Let's get our fleets moving that are en route somewhere. Oh, we missed it. How did they get it so quickly? That certainly said 38 earlier, didn't it? Ah, they've already got one over here. Okay. Well, let's try and stop them. How long is this one saying? See, this is saying it's going to take 49 turns. I don't know how they're able to... How are they able to get that so quickly? I mean, I know there's like the little ships, but... We're going to have to investigate that a little bit. Maybe there's something special about the Hishu and their ability to accelerate their outposts. I don't know. But I don't want them taking Hoth if I can help it. I would like to have Hoth. It's kind of a bottleneck or a choke point into our own system. I'm almost certain there's going to be a wormhole here. This is unfortunate because our ships are flying around in all the wrong directions. Alright, we're one turn away from getting a hack on the pirates. Let's take a peek. You can see every turn you fall down this ladder a little bit. So we've actually backslid back across the line, but we're not as far down as we were before. So our next one should move us a little bit further up. But notice that this cost has gone back up to 500. Or back up. It's increased from 400 to 500. This is increased to 140. This was 210, I think. This was 390. So costs have gone up. I don't know why the costs have gone up. Also, we can see somebody's been feeding them some dust. They've boosted it above level 1. I wonder who that was. Purple, huh? So there's a purple player over... Oh dear. That's not good for us. So who wants to take a guess what's hiding on this system? The Diluvians just disappeared from the map, and that can only mean one thing. We are neighbors with the Umbral Choir. Well, we were able to tie for first with 4 other empires who each searched 1 atmospheric curiosity. So everybody got this reward. But at least we were tied for first, so this is helpful to us for sure, especially the titanium. I am not happy about this at all. Alright, our hack, we're going to falsify logs again. We just don't have the resources to pay even discounted prices. Let's take a look at how that improved our status. Well, we're further ahead than we were, but man, it's looking like it's going to take a lot of these in order to get us above this line. That got done quickly. And this technology just got completed, which gives us this very awesome building, which we will be using very soon. Increase in the prices for luxury resources. Okay. Fearful symmetry. We're going to have to do some research. So if we search this, we'll gain another pirate ship that we can use in our fleet. For 5 titanium. I don't think a pirate ship that we're not able to retrofit is really worth it. And we do not have the detection level to bother with it, so we're just gonna get on our way. The Umbral Choir have some super stealth that we're gonna have to figure out how to uncover. I'm not seeing the detection modules for stealth, so maybe they're in the military tree? Huh. Stealth. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I know I've seen it before. +3 vision range. Unlocks additional support modules for Dart. Yeah, it's not over here. Alright, well I'm going to have to look at it off camera, I think. And I'll figure out where it is, but we're definitely going to have to spend some time searching some anti-stealth technology to deal with the Umbral Choir at some point. I don't want to waste any more of your time, because I'm probably looking right at it and just can't see it, because it's late, and I'm kind of tired. So, we'll do one more turn. Oh, we have a new hack, right. Let's just continue to hack the pirates, I guess. The other option is to hack the pulsos. I just have a feeling that they're going to get snatched up before we can do much to impact them. And we don't, again, really have the resources. So let's just keep focusing on the pirates for now, because that's really what I wanted to focus on anyways. It's becoming clear to me that this, at least at this point in the game, is not a good way to build your relationship with the pirates. But we'll see. We still have our quest to work on. We're going to be at 3 of 4 here pretty soon. And I believe we'll unlock a new science building, so we'll be able to get this quest before probably, well, definitely before turn 40, but probably close to turn 30, 33. I do want to end this turn and get a couple things going on here, so... Okay. So let's go ahead and merge these fleets together, and then go ahead and blockade this. And this is a 2 command point fleet, so... This is not doing anything. Yeah, they went from like 49 turns to being done in 2 turns. This blockade is not having any effect here. Hold on a second. This planet will become an Empire's colony in 2 turns. This outpost has negative growth. When its stock reaches 0, the outpost will be removed. Where do I see its growth? Minus 14 from outpost. Now if we undo this, it doesn't change these numbers. Well, we're going to go ahead and try to blockade it and see if we can't negatively impact it and keep them from getting another outpost. Notice the new Golden Age has given everybody another 10 approval, and so everybody's super happy again for a little while. This ship has arrived and can now go piratey and head over here. We also have 8 probes. That's 4 in that direction. Three in that direction. Is there anything that we have not uncovered? It looks like there's a little bit over here that we haven't uncovered, so I guess I'll send it that way. Alright, Supernova Man for the win. Although we're not really doing a lot of winning at the moment. Let's get a probe over here to uncover the rest of that lane. And move down to the end of this part of the constellation for now. So the reason that we didn't see anybody in our constellation while we were searching is because they are the Umbral Choir. Yeah, that's going to make for an interesting game. I have not played against the Umbral Choir because, you know, they didn't exist until recently, so I really don't know what to expect. I have a feeling we're going to get hacked a lot, and I don't know how to defend against that, but this could be a really good learning opportunity. So stay tuned for that. And like I said, I'll spend some time off camera and figure out where all the stealth stuff is at that we need to research. And we'll come back on turn 26, maybe tomorrow, and we'll see you then. Have a great night.